The NBA season is officially underway, with every game giving us a clear idea of who these teams actually are and which off-season moves paid off and which is leading teams into panic mode. Today, we're taking a look at how the Lakers are faring without LeBron and if the team will ever figure out their Russell Westbrook problem. All that and more coming up. Will Ben Simmons suit up? The Ben Simmons situation has gone from interesting to embarrassing pretty quickly, and that's for both parties. The Sixers don't seem to really have the incentive to move Ben at the moment, and word around the league is that the former All-Star could be stuck in Philly throughout this season, despite his pleas to leave. It's looking like GMs around the league are going to have to see some playing time and flashes of development before picking up the phone. Things get even more complicated now that Rich Paul, Ben's agent, has revealed some details. Ben's mental health. The legitimacy of this claim is pretty heavily disputed, but out of respect to Ben as a human being, I'm willing to entertain that Ben doesn't think that playing in Philly is the best thing for his mental health. I reckon there are tons of athletes that would even agree with him. The Sixers did as well, deciding to revoke the fine given to Ben for refusal to show up to games and practices until recently. Apparently though, Ben hasn't been attending therapy sessions and hasn't really been the most enthusiastic about the treatment. Who knows what ends up happening with this situation, but who could have guessed it would have gotten this bonkers and petty this soon? What's going on with the Jazz and the Suns? The Jazz were the best team in the West throughout the extremely early portion of the season, and were without their biggest competitor from last season, the Phoenix Suns, who started the season really off. Things have sort of flip-flopped now, with the Jazz dropping games left and right, and the Suns quickly turning their season around and pulling out some statement wins recently. The two teams are like opposites so far, but barring some major injury disaster from Utah or Phoenix, I would still predict that one of these squads is once again the top of the Western Conference standings come the postseason, especially since the West has been weaker than in previous seasons in comparison to a tough as nails East. The Staples Center gets a rebrand. I don't know about you guys, but when I hear Staples Center, I don't even think of the brand anymore, and instead all about the history that has brought us. The majority of Kobe's career, in fact, was under that banner, making it a bummer that very soon the Staples Center will be getting a name change. Going forward, the arena will be named after Crypto.com, and so brace yourself for the very awkward process of younger people being confused when you accidentally call it the Staples Center in a few years. Not exactly looking forward to feeling old again. Lakers' dramatic season continues. After LeBron went down with an abominable strain that threatened to keep him out for an unclear period of time, we knew that the supporting cast was going to have to try and keep the Lakers afloat across his absence. The problem this time is that the Lakers didn't even really have things together with LeBron, and so trying to do it without him is proven to be an extremely difficult proposition. The Russell Westbrook deal, which we'll get to in a minute, has had a really shaky time so far, and Anthony Davis going down with the stomach virus put a hamper on their little winning streak. So where are we heading forward? Westbrook struggles to adapt to a new system again. Russell Westbrook wants us to work more than anybody. Russell's coming home to LA just minutes away from where he played during college at UCLA, and with plenty of family and friends in the area. The problem is that Russell, even at his best, doesn't really have a clear spot on his team in the way that fellow members like Carmelo Anthony have, and Russ has an absolutely huge contract to boot, making his time in Hollywood a bit dicey. Russ needs the ball in his hands to be effective, and even then is prone to turnovers, and at this point in his career is a bit removed from his MVP days of yesteryear. But is this time to panic? Don't hit the panic button just yet. Here's something that should help calm your nerves a little bit, Laker fans. Russell Westbrook has consistently struggled when starting out with new teams, and so what's going on right now may not be the biggest deal in the world. With both Houston and Washington, Russell picked things up closer to the All-Star game. It led both teams to success in the second half of the regular season. If a returning AD can help pick up some wins while we wait for LeBron to return, which is supposed to be very soon, then the Lakers may not only be fine, but can easily turn things around this season. They're hovering around .500 by the way, so it's not exactly like they're at the basement of the league just yet. Why LeBron's injury hinders things? The only issue that the Lakers really have is time. It's going to take time to decide when, if ever, LeBron and Westbrook are going to work out together, or if Russ may need to become a second unit kind of player for the team. Ultimately, I think that the Lakers are going to have to be patient and see if there's a way to make this group work before turning to the trade market, since I doubt there are a lot of teams out there wanting to pick up Westbrook's contract at this point, especially if Russ isn't able to pick up his game and lead his Lakers squad to some meaningful wins. The Warriors are for real. Last year was a miss for Golden State, who saw Klay Thomas go down weeks before the season to miss his second year in a row, and were forced to rely on Steph going hero ball most nights just to lose in the play-in game to end their their season in unceremonious fashion. It would all be worth it though to see a competitive team this year, and these Warriors are not only that, but could very well be the favorites to make it through the West this year. Steph has once again set the world on fire, being the oldest player to have multiple 50-plus games in a season, and has been surrounded by both grizzled vets like returning Andre Iguodala, but also young and hungry players like Gary Payton and Jordan Poole. These Warriors are for real, and Clay hasn't even come back yet. I expect him to be a bit rusty out of the gates, but if he can provide anything of value to this club, the sky could be the limit for Golden State. The Blazers are in trouble. For years, the Blazers have been carried by the tremendous ability of one and only Damian Lillard. The superstar point guard has elevated a team that has been average at best in the West for the last handful of years. This year, following a terrible offseason that failed to improve upon itself following trade rumors with Lillard, has been a train wreck. This Blazers team isn't very good, and Dame's slow start has only exposed that further. The trade buzz is growing as teams begin circling, and the Blazers are running out of time. Head coach Chauncey Billups alluded to the shakeups to the team, but what can they really do? They're paying guys like Nurkic and McCollum a lot of money, but it's hard to know what their values are with the history of injury. The situation in Portland is getting more and more complicated by the day. Keep an eye on this one, guys. Zion's weight, a concern for the Pelicans. Zion's weight has always been a bit of a meme among the NBA fandom, but it also persisted as a point of contention on how good Zion can really be. An injury sustained weeks before the season has sidelined Zion so far, and his weight gain was immediately noticeable as pictures of the star practicing started coming out. The concerns were swept under the rug by anyone associated by the New Orleans organization for a while, but it seems that the weight gain is starting to become a problem for the young superstar. The Pelicans are changing up Zion's diet and sculpting his physique to protect him from potential hits. Apparently, the Pelicans have hired several specialists, rotated diets, and even routines several times, but nothing has worked. Hopefully, Zion is able to shed the extra pounds and get his season started off on a high note when he eventually returns. But weight gain issues continue to linger into his NBA career and are bizarre, to say the least. Well, that's it for our video today. What are your thoughts on the Lakers and what they should do about Westbrook? Leave a comment down below and let me know. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, feel free to leave a like as it helps us out a ton. Also, subscribe for more videos like this released all the time.